Let's talk today about money. I know that this is an unusual thing for me to talk about because most of the things that I'm talking about are more around matters of the heart and relationships, leadership, parenting, and all of that kind of stuff. But I don't think it's actually unrelated because I think that one of the things that happens often when we're in difficult situations, we try to distract ourselves from our potential reality. So I know people who are let me just give an example. So I know right now I'm in our house we are facing probably it's very likely that we are going to end up with my husband getting a pay cut. And I have not been bringing in the same amount of income as I'm used to bringing in. And so we are pretty sure that we're going to be impacted financially in the very near future. And we know other people who are already very, very impacted financially. And so one of the things that I see myself falling prey to is a little bit of this idea of like, oh, I don't really want to talk about it because if I talk about it, I might bring it into reality. Like, it's kind of a spiritual perspective of not wanting to manifest that what we are thinking about or talking about. But what I do know about manifestation or about, the way that things work is that it's really less about the words that come out of our mouth and more about who I am. So, I attract things that are kind of like where my mind is like thinking, what I'm thinking about, what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing. And so if I'm worried about financial stuff, then it's better to be spoken about and to get it cleared up and to get a clear perspective on what's going on. The other thing I know that happens is, so people, whether you're spiritual or not spiritual, I think it's very, very likely that a lot of people who are facing financial stuff there, it's either like we have this overly optimistic viewpoint of like, no, it's going to work out, it's going to be fine, or we're in denial. Like we're just like, no, like nothing, I'm going to be fine, but not even just in like a future hopeful place. I knew people who are financially struggling and they're still not really making changes in their life that would make it so that they will be in a better place in the long run. And I don't exactly know what that is in us because I think it's just a way of surviving that we're kind of wired to not get I guess it's just this sense of not being in a place of the thing that's like our biggest fear, not facing the biggest fear that we could be very like that we could end up. I know that some people don't have this at all, but I know some people who really, really deeply have this fear that that the other shoe is going to drop, that they're going to lose all their money, they're going to end up homeless, they're going to end up in bad situations. And so it's like, yeah, I don't even want to go there. I'll deal with it when it comes, that kind of mindset. But because of my nature and the way that I am, I've always been a planner and we are budgeters. We budget our money. So I know where every penny of our money goes. And maybe not every penny, but certainly every dollar, maybe $10. And so I've budgeted since I was I don't know, but I was in my 20s for sure. My mother was a budgeter. We grew up with very little money, so that was the way that we were I guess it's just the way that we made it all work. My mom made it all work for us. And so she passed that on to me, and I have been a budgeter ever since. I even have my 17-year-old already budgets. And so as we enter this time, so many people are already facing this, but more and more people are going to be impacted financially by the coronavirus and by the circumstances of shelter in place. And if it's not even if your area isn't sheltered in place, you're having people who are staying home, people aren't going to restaurants, people aren't spending money the way that they were before. And so we're all in this together, in our different ways. And the thing that I want to invite you to do is to not wait, to not get stuck in a fear place of this, but to be really vigilant about what you're doing financially. So I am here to invite you to bring it into your conscious awareness that it is possible that even if you are not being negatively impacted right now by by the financial situation of the world, you will probably be impacted at some point. And this isn't meant to be like, I mean, I have no idea. I really hope I'm wrong. But what's the harm in planning for that? Now, that doesn't mean that we don't spend money. In fact, what I find is that the more proactive I am and the more I know where my money is spent, the more likely I'm going to spend money on the things I actually really need to do and feel good about it. Because one of the things that happens with us is that if we are having our head in the sand and we don't really know where we stand financially, then what happens is every single thing we purchase, we feel fear around. And so we're just connecting money and fear, money and fear, money and fear in everything we do. If we are budgeted and we don't know where we spend our money, and we know we have the money to do that. So if I know that I'm allocating money toward groceries and I'm not going to limit that right now, then every time I spend money on groceries, I can feel good about it. I can feel good that I'm feeding my family healthy food. I can feel good that I'm employing other people. I can feel good that I budgeted money, and I can actually have a good positive feedback loop around spending money in that area. If we make other things a priority in our life, what I want to do is if something is a priority for us, like buying our kids a new bike or something like that, I don't want to be sitting in the place of feeling guilt around that and feeling fear that we don't have the money. So if it's important and we make it a priority, then we allocate money to that. Then when we go spend the money, we actually feel good about it instead of feeling like we shouldn't be doing it. And again, getting back into a fear loop where we connect fear and worry and guilt with money. So my invitation is to bring a deep, deep conscious awareness around your financial situation right now and actually take the time to know where you stand. We have been doing this forever. So I budget money for, as an example, is taxes. We take money that we put away for federal and for state taxes. We also put away money for our property taxes every month. Well, so it's kind of a funny thing because a lot of people really dread paying their taxes, but I look at money in a different way. I really do look at money as just like almost like transactional. And so I have saved all the money. So when it comes time to write our tax bill, I have already saved it. So I feel kind of good about it. I can actually have like a positive attitude about it. And again, I connect money with more of like a joyful, positive experience. And I've always believed that is actually part of why we've seemed to come through things in a much more positive way financially. I think that this time we are entering a time that's probably going to touch more people more deeply than most of us have seen. And I could be wrong on that. But again, what's the harm in me being wrong? Like being a proactive person who's being planful around our finances is not a bad thing. And if it ends up that I am wrong, then by all means, then we can go back to doing what we were doing before if we want to. From my perspective, it just helps me to know that if I have planned out our finances and we've made cuts in places where it's not important to us. And also, this time around, I know I'm anticipating the cut to be deeper than things we've experienced before. And so I'm making cuts that are a little bit painful for us. We are making some of those. And I'm also looking at things that are important to us and making sure that we're funding those still as long as we can. So we're being proactive. We haven't even gotten the pay cut yet. But we're being proactive in dealing with this because the other benefit to that is that we're also saving money because of it. So we're going to be able to save the money until we actually enter the cuts. One of the things that you could make the argument about is, well, the problem is that the economy does need us to be spending, and the economy needs us to keep putting money into it. It's true, and it's very true. And it's also not, it doesn't make any sense for us to be shooting ourselves in the foot in order to keep an economy going when we don't even really know if it's going to help. We really don't. We don't really know what's going to help. All we can really do is be focusing on being as clear and as clean around our finances and as conscious around our finances as possible so that we are preparing for the future. I believe that when we do that, it opens us up to be able to be more likely to donate money to other people because we know where we stand financially. I factored some of that into our planning. We are in a more privileged place where we can, a pay cut will hurt us a lot, but it's not the same as someone who's losing their job and they have nothing, or they're, surviving on unemployment that barely touches what they were making before. So our circumstances are such that I am trying to factor in how we can be continuing to contribute to the economy, how we can continue to also be donating to causes and to people that need support. So it allows us, when we do this, it allows us to be much more intentional, much more abundance, and hopefully the mindset of more of abundance and hope rather than of fear, panic, and avoidance and resistance to even looking at it because it's too scary. So that's my invitation to you, is actually to just take the time to actually look at your finances, see if you can actually get yourself a budget, get yourself clear, and start to put yourself into living in a slightly more constrained way. And some people have just found the benefits of just not driving, not doing some of the other things that we have done in the past that cost us a lot of money. Those things have saved money. That's great. So don't, then take that money and put that aside as rainy day money right now. Save that money rather than spending that money, and try to keep yourself in a proactively, financially responsible place while we go through these times. Because I really do believe that the people who are actually taking a look at their money and making proactive decisions, they'll be the ones that actually can handle this and weather this better than the people who kind of get caught off guard. They were doing their normal thing and spending money the way that they always do, and then the constraints become so tight that they end up in a crisis. And so that's what I would just say. So see if you can find places right now to make cuts in, and make those cuts that aren't as maybe painful proactively. And then I think that we should all be trying to do a little bit of the painful ones too. Some of the ones that will make you make some sacrifices. Take a look at what's actually really important right now and decide, is it important? Is it not important? And if it is important, is it still something you're willing to sacrifice, because it'll be a better solution for the long term, and it'll make you very, very excited when you in the future can go back to affording that again. So if you had a person who cleaned your house before, well, they're not coming right now because of the shelter in place for a lot of people. For us, we've been still paying our the person who has been cleaning our house, but I know that we're going to be cutting back on our actual house cleaning, because that's something that we are not going to be able to afford to do as much in the future. And so we're trying to work out with her, what are we going to do? How, is this something that we're going to make an arrangement that will pay her what we plan to do in the future? I don't know. So I don't know yet. We haven't actually made a plan around that, but it's just taking a look at those things and examining them, and then getting really clear on what you're going to cut, what you're not going to cut, what's going to be too painful, what are your priorities, what are your priorities as a human being involved in these circumstances as it relates to helping other people and supporting other people. Does that factor into it? Or are you just so desperate right now that you're just coming into we need to be able to pay the bills and put food on the table and keep our house? The other thing too is also to look at places where you can ask for negotiations on things. I know that it's really uncomfortable to do that, but if you have rent for a business or something like that, go see if you can negotiate your rent in your office building. See if you can negotiate your rent in your home. See if you could qualify to push off your mortgage payments for 3 months. Some people are getting that opportunity, but don't spend that money. Don't spend the money. Put the money that you have, if you have any extra, towards savings, toward rainy day money, so that you're not going to get into a situation in 3-6 months or whatever, when you have to go back and pay your mortgage, that you're now stuck with basically not being able to afford that then. Try to be proactive in everything that you're doing, because these times are so uncertain that the only thing we can do is get certain about just what's real in this moment, and making decisions for this moment with a bigger vision of that we don't know if things might get significantly worse in the future. So check that out and see. Feel free to discuss more in the comments. I'm not actually a financial person. This isn't really my area of expertise. I just felt that it was really important to come on and start to talk about the need for people to pay attention to this in these times. And I hope this is helpful for you.